asking me. Thank you guys for asking me to join you. And, I mentioned before I have a business background in startups and change management, helping consult with businesses on their business practices and policies and finance and things like that, which will hopefully become clear as we go through this. This is kind of like a really brief outline of, kind of the business basics for small business. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. Oops, sorry. Clicked on the Zoom link. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is a strategic plan. And, if you don't have one, I really would suggest it. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can actually Google, there's all kinds of outlines out there that will help you get your thinking straightened. But what a strategic plan does is it really helps you document the details of the current status of your company and the direction that you want to go in. So at some point in the future, if you are looking at taking out a bank loan or a line of credit or applying for a grant, having these things in writing is just going to be really helpful for you to be able to explain the details about your business. And then also as you bring other people into your business, like employees or contractors, everybody's on the same page because there's a defined vision. So kind of key to strategic planning is defining your goals and objectives, and that contributes to the growth and success of your business. And what are your goals? Do you want to grow larger? Do you want to add staff? Do you want to increase sales? And how do you get there? So a lot of times people ask me, or when we start working on them, they get a little confused between what is a goal and what is an objective because they're so interlinked. So the easiest way, I think, is just to look at goals as kind of the big, broad, general statement, and then, or the what, and then the objectives are the narrow and specific, the how. And there can be several objectives to each goal. So I gave you an example here. If you want to increase sales by 10% in 2022, that's a pretty broad statement. So your objectives would tell you how to get there. You want to solicit 10 referrals from past clients each quarter, follow up with an email invite to a company quarterly educational event. So that's just an example, but I hope you can kind of see, where that's going. And there are some free apps out there that can help you kind of, once you line this all out on paper, to put in your goals and objectives and then keep track of them, because you want to revisit them. You never want to create a plan and put it on a shelf, because that's just a waste of your time. So if you really want to, have a clear business picture and have a roadmap of where you're going and really work towards that, then you should be revisiting them. And like Asana, Asana has a really robust free version, which I actually use, but it can grow with you. Like I've been involved in other organizations that use the paid version. And so it can be really robust as well. And Asana, I find, is really good for inputting your goals and objectives. I'm going to, unless anybody has a burning question, I'm going to save that till the end, because I know we have a pretty short time and I made quite a few slides. So I wanted to talk about branding. And I put this next because one of the things that you're going to want to put in your strategic plan is your mission and purpose statement. Just came up the other day where somebody said, well, this is not a nonprofit. Why do I need a mission statement? Well, everybody needs a mission and purpose for their company. That's the why of what you're doing. So just like the goals and objectives, the mission is short and broad and the purpose is more specific. So the other tendency when creating a mission is to make this really long statement. You want to keep it really concise and memorable for people to know exactly what your business is about. And then use your purpose statements. Those can be bulleted to kind of expand on that. That's how you carry things out. Next, I'm going to jump into naming a company, which can be really hard. And we could spend a whole day or more just on this discussion alone, but there's a few tips to consider. So, and maybe you already have a business, but you're thinking about branching out or starting a new area that you want to name and get a URL for. So this discussion would apply to that as well. You want to choose a name that is, I put is hard to spell, is not hard to spell or uses alternative spelling or is too long. And that includes your own name. A lot of people use their own name if they're a consultancy, but if your name is really hard to spell, that might not be a good idea. And then you're also going to want to use this name in your company URL or on social media. So keep that in mind as well. But you can break the rules sometimes. Conventional wisdom says don't use a number in your name, but I've done that with no problem. I have a series of companies that start with 360 marketing vision and others. So it's intentional because 360 also means full circle. And it lists me at the top of business listings. Like if I participate in a group where there's other speakers, I'm always listed first, which is kind of nice. So anyway, my point is, these are kind of some guidelines for your name, but it's not a hard and fast rule. Some businesses pick a really clever name that they can also still find a .com URL for that really have no relation to their business. Like there's a communication company called Clover. But you have to kind of think about that for a while. I mean, if it's a company that's going to go out and get big investors and has a pretty robust marketing budget so that they can really get that brand name in the minds of people, I think choosing an obscure name is okay. If it's a small business, probably you want to be a little bit more succinct so that people know what the business is about by your name. I like to use GoDaddy if you are choosing or registering URLs. I just find their customer service to be really outstanding, and they have a lot of good add-on features, and they're very affordable. So a lot of times you'll see other companies, they'll have like super cheap domain names, but then, after the intro period, it'll end up costing you more. Going to jump to logos. So similarly, logos can be hard to come up with. They should also be simple and readable and very, very small. So I don't know if you notice, like on websites, there's a tab at the top and you can have an icon on it. So that's the smallest example I can think of where your logo will appear, or at least the icon part of your logo and not the wording. So when you're developing a logo, think tiny. How will it look when it's really tiny? Or if it's on a flyer with other sponsors, it's going to be tiny. So that's something to consider. There's a company called Fiverr, and it's spelled kind of odd. It's Fiverr. It's based out of Israel, and it's really an incredible resource of artists and creatives where you can go and ask them to do a logo and get some bids on it, and it's super cheap and really good quality. I mean, there's different rankings, and it's ranked by customer feedback, and you can kind of buy at the top end or the middle or the low, and at the middle end you can just get some incredible work done for really cheap. Or if you want a newsletter redesigned or a postcard or anything like that. So I would recommend that service. And then remember, if you don't like your business name, you can always change it. the name that my business is registered under legally is not the name that I use for my business. So it doesn't really matter. But the more established your brand is, the harder it's going to be to change later. So something to keep in mind there. So I want to talk about who are your customers and target audiences and segmentation. So target marketing is really important to identify your customers, or in your case, it would probably be clients, to be able to market to them effectively. And there's a lot of ways to identify your customers. There's measurable statistics like gender, age, income level, marital status, et cetera. There's also geographic segmentation by neighborhood, zip code, area code, state, region, and psychographic information about their work and social status. And there's no judgment here. It's not profiling. It's just identifying. So it is really important to get to know your customers. And then you can further identify your audience based on your particular business. For example, a doula business may want to know how many babies are born in the US, how many are born to plus size mothers, how many are born to LGBTQ mothers, et cetera. And those are all demographics that I was easily able to call up on Google. And having that kind of data will really help you get to know your customers. So that demographic data is often free, easily accessible on Google, or oftentimes you can purchase reports for a nominal fee. So you can usually see a snippet in advance to see if it's valuable for you. You can also note demographics from your client base and observation for information you collect. So, you know, I did this recently, pardon me, with a customer who hadn't really been collecting this kind of data on their customers. And I said, well, what do you observe? You know, how old are your customers? Are they, you know, this category of age, this category? And they did know where they were coming from geographically. And so we kind of mapped it out together just based on some information that they had tracked and some by observation. And here's why you want to do this. So identifying your target markets will help you identify and appeal to each segment. So maybe you notice most of your customers are women 30 to 35 years old. So then how can you appeal to a different demographic, like younger women or older women? Or, you know, it's not only helping you to get to know the customers you already have and be able to market to them, but it also identifies the ones that you don't have and that you want to go after. Here's an example of target marketing. I apologize, it's from McDonald's, but I do think it gives a really good example of target markets and how they market to them. So McDonald's target markets are children, teenagers, and young urban dwelling families. And they reach these target audiences by offering things like play places and parties and the Arch card, and free Wi-Fi, Happy Meals with toys, and so all types of different promotions and ad campaigns. And those are all designed to appeal to those specific targets. So I'm going to make a big leap here. We're going to leap over to a couple of financial areas. So why create an annual budget? I wish I still had you on the screen and raise your hand if you have a budget created, because a lot of businesses don't. An annual budget is really important because it allows you to set priorities, goals, and spending caps. And you know, it really allows you to know where your business is at and track it financially. And it's especially effective for long-term planning. So it has short-term benefits and long-term benefits. So you create an annual budget by reviewing and categorizing income and expenses that you've already spent. So if you've been doing this for a while, you can take the last couple of years of income and expenses and and add them all up and then average them over 12 months. Or if you got 24 months worth of information, you can divide it that way. But you want to get a 12-month average for each category. And you want to exclude unusual or one-time expenses or revenue because that'll throw your numbers off. And then you want to try and forecast any changes. If you are going to be hiring a new person and they're going to potentially bring in new business for you, you're going to have some expenses on the personnel end, but then you should also have some increases on the revenue end. And then also don't forget capital expenditures like equipment and fixtures. Those are the things you're going to need to make your business run. But you'll also need a schedule for depreciation and replacement. And then set aside a contingency fund for unexpected expenses or cash. So one of the things I do when I first review a company's health is look at their financial information. So if you're an existing business already and you've been around for a while, you can do this yourself. Sometimes it's nice to have fresh eyes come in and look at it for you. But I look at where expenses seem to be abnormally high or revenue low, and then I ask why. We can often determine what can be done to remedy that. So, rent is one thing that people look at as a fixed expense. Oh, I can't change that. Well, you know what? You can negotiate with your landlord. You can move. There are a lot of options. So if you've got those big red flags in your own budget, those are some things that you can look at. And then you want to incorporate your budget into your financial software. And again, by dividing those by 12. And we're going to talk a little bit about financial software. So again, solo entrepreneurs, very small businesses often don't have accounting software, and that's okay. Or if you're just starting out, sometimes through your business bank account, you can have some pretty robust financial tools for tracking income and expenses. There's Quicken, which is the baby version of QuickBooks, which also is really good and low cost, not only for tracking income and expenses, but you can run some basic financial reports. And really oddly, it also tracks property matters like rental income. It's kind of odd that there's like this one key area that they have really robust information. But the problem with those two things is they're not scalable. So if your business grows and you really need to pay more attention to your finances, or are at the point where you need to hire an accountant or just have somebody internally helping with bookkeeping, you're going to basically be starting all over again, taking all of that old data and importing it into software so that you can have accurate financial data. So really consider where your business is going, how quickly it's going to grow, how big you think you want it to ultimately be. And you might want to consider jumping up to QuickBooks. There are cheaper financial accounting software packages out there. I've tried a few of them. QuickBooks is just like the industry standard. Plus it will sync up directly to any CPA or accountant. It's very robust business accounting, and it's easy to use. You don't have to use all of the features out of the gate in QuickBooks. You could, if you were using Quicken before, it'll be very familiar. It's just a pain that they didn't link Quicken and QuickBooks. So once you outgrow Quicken, you could have gone to the other one, but that's probably a marketing strategy on their part. So the most important thing that you want to do in business accounting is really understand how to create and what the content is on certain statements. profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow. And because we're, kind of just an overview today, I'm giving you a link here. If you're not familiar with these financial statements and you're ready to learn, there's this really great free website. It's got a really long URL here, so I've put it on the display here, and you can review all different subjects in accounting, starting with financial statements. And that is really the best way to learn how to set those up and read those. And sometimes, you might be involved in an organization where there is a bookkeeper, there is, an accountant or whatever, but you still need to understand those financial statements. Maybe you're the executive director or the manager, or you're in a position where you need to really understand the cash flow of the business and how the business is doing. Can you add staff? Can you purchase that piece of equipment? Where do you need to cut back? So those things are really important. I think I talked about all the different software already, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Customer service. Okay, we're jumping to a new area again here. I just cannot say enough about how important it is, the person that answers your phone. It's the make and break of your business. If they are friendly and efficient, that is a win. If they're not, you could be losing clients. And if, I hate to say it, but one of the best ways to monitor that, if you're not, in a position to hear it on a frequent basis, is to occasionally do some secret shopping, have somebody call, give their feedback, and see where you can improve, because that's the entry door to your business. And there's so many companies that do it wrong. I'm sure that anyone in this room has had frustrating experiences with customer service. So we all need to learn from that for our own business and take that in and make sure that what we do is just so much better. So the other really important point I wanted to make is the best clients that you have are the ones you already have. The lowest cost for increasing revenue for your business is your existing clients. They stick around longer, they spend more money with you, they're a great source of referrals, and the cost of acquisition is upfront. To get new clients, that's where your greatest cost is. Once you have them, your cost is very low and they're super valuable. So just really pay attention to the clients you already have. So how do you get and keep your customers and keep them happy? We already talked about pleasant and efficient phone answering. It's also important to resolve issues quickly. I do a lot of conflict resolution, and it's especially hard when somebody has a problem. Most people want to feel listened to. So the key is repeat the issue back to them, make sure you have understanding, see what you can do to resolve it, and then follow up and make sure that you keep them in the loop and hopefully work towards that resolution. Also put in that extra effort when needed. Later on, when your business is growing and you're too busy to do that, then there's other solutions, through software, additional staff, or whatever. But extra effort is and going the extra mile will really give you good results as far as customers' happiness. Keeping clients informed on timelines and progress. So, as my business grew, we started this thing called Monday email updates. And so I get involved in large complex projects, and I don't have time to answer people's calls every day or emails every day wanting an update. So on Monday, we would recap the week before, and then we would project out what was happening the week ahead. And sometimes that would change and flex, but the customers felt really caught up and in step with what was going on in their project. And that not only increased their satisfaction, but it cut our work time down, answering individual calls and emails. So another thing you can do is create self-service content. So if you launch a new service or you bring somebody in that's new, or anything that's really pertinent to your business that people will want to know about, you can push out content either on your website or through an email, or just saying, hey, now we're offering this, and we have this, this, and this. And but not only that, how to use it. So so somebody is interested in that new service, and they're going to want to know more about it. So rather than call you, or again, if it's a timing thing, balancing your time, you can have content that says, by doing this kind of service, this is your benefit, and this is all that it means and why it's important. So it's not a salesy kind of dialogue. It's a health perspective, or what the benefits are to them for their good health, or whatever the educational benefits are. And then again, that's a really good communication tool. And you can also ask for their feedback if something's new, and then you can keep improving it. Another good idea is a contact relationship management system. And again, solo entrepreneurs, that sometimes that's really difficult to keep track of a lot of data. But I want to tell you kind of the importance behind it, and then some other easier solutions. So tracking conversations and getting information about customers, like their spouse's name or their birthday. Just the other day, I sent somebody an e-card for their birthday, and they said, "Oh, I can't believe you remembered my birthday." And I told them, "Well, you're really important to us." But I didn't tell them it's also because our computer reminded us it's your birthday, so you're getting this card. But so it does help your customer engagement. But when you're getting to know your clients, you probably have them fill out some kind of questionnaire, or you sit down with them. And I hope that you are keeping track of that information, because then as your client list grows, it helps to have it written down so that you can call it back up and remember. So I think in the next slide, I'm going to talk about a CRM, but this could just be an Excel spreadsheet. Just, try and keep track of that information, because it's data, and data is valuable. And then also ask for a review of services, including customer service, and see where you can improve. So constantly ask for that feedback. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but it's really valuable. So related to customer service is marketing. And again, this is a very big topic. But there's a lot of different ways you can go, and I'm going to hone it down for you into what's really, really important. Once you register a business with the Department of Commerce, which you probably know already is required in the state of Hawaii, you'll start to get a lot of spam marketing requests. And I get emails constantly from clients, "Oh, this sounds really good. Should I do this?" And usually the answer is no, but sometimes it's valid. But basically, if you're not at least doing the core basics, just shut out all that noise of people that want you to market in other ways. It's usually just that noise. So the core of your business is a decent, fully functioning website by a WordPress designer. There's other website platforms. WordPress is the world's largest, which means that whoever designs your website, if you ever have a problem, there's hundreds of other people that can help you with it. A WordPress website costs around $7,000 and up, depending on the complexity. There is an option that I recommend to people for a low-cost alternative. And if you have some, good tech skills, you can do it yourself. It's called Wix, W-I-X, and you can build and manage it yourself. And they have, it's very affordable. There's a lot of add-on options. So as your business grows, you can add other things that you might need, like a contact management system. Whichever route you go with a website, or if you already have a website, you should incorporate a blog and a contact capture features. And so both of those things are really important. When you capture contacts, you can have a contact form, contact us, fill in your information, but you can also create that with a value proposition. Would you like our free health report on XYZ subject? Just, give us your name and email. So that's a really good way where the value is they get something of value to them for free. You get their contact information. You could also do that signing up for a newsletter. There is some new laws coming down the pipe, GDPR, which started in Europe, and it has to do with how we handle people's personal data. And basically it boils down to you have to ask people's permission to use their contact information. And that's really important. And, by using these forms, you are asking their permission to contact them. So that's the first step in meeting this test of, can you use their information or not? Ultimately, there's going to be an overall policy for the United States. The industry experts say that it probably won't happen until 2023, but state by state, they're implementing a lot of really stringent policies on data. So I don't want to confuse you with, a lot of big things that are happening in that realm. But the important thing is just to ask permission to use their contact information before you contact them. So social media, Facebook still has the largest reach. The demographics skew older. Instagram skews younger, but because they're now part of the same company, the campaigns can easily be combined together so that you can approach a really wide demographic through one portal, through the Facebook business portal. So that's what I would recommend for social media. I know there's a lot of other options out there. If you're, were progressed, farther beyond the basics, the next thing that I would recommend, if you're doing workshops or anything that can be put out by video, YouTube also has a huge reach. So again, you might want to let some of the smaller ones go and just focus on the bigger ones. And also you might want to have an Indeed profile that's up to date. Website, social media, people will look at these things when they are looking at your business, and it lends some legitimacy to your business. If you don't have any presence at all online, then that is really kind of a signal that you're not as established of a business as some people would feel comfortable with. So here's my, I was going to give you my secret sauce, but I wanted to mention e-newsletters. So for professional looking newsletters, you send them out by email. MailChimp, I think, is the best option for ease of use and competitive cost. And they have a free lower tier. I think it's up to 2,000 contacts. So, pretty generous amount of contacts for smaller businesses. and some really great templates so that you can get a professional looking e-newsletter designed and sent out. I mean, virtually for free if your list is small, and very low cost otherwise. Now I'm going to skip to the last thing. So if you have a website and create 2 monthly blog posts with fresh content about your business, you can reuse that same information over and over without repeating the effort, and it's going to benefit you. So you take those same blog posts and you create a snippet on Facebook about the blog post, and then it links back to your blog or Instagram. And you also put snippets in your e-newsletter, and that links back to the website. So you're driving people back to the website where you have those forms to capture customer information, whether it's through your value proposition or your contact form, and then you gain contacts that way. That's a basic marketing funnel. So I would really suggest that you kind of adopt this, because it's a way where you can, with one effort, repeat that effort and then drive business back through your website. So we're talking about online gaining business, and I wanted to talk about networking to your sphere of influence. I'm just going to check my time, make sure. Ooh, I'm going kind of a little bit long here. So there's also people, not online, but your sphere of influence is all the people in your personal and professional network with whom your opinion holds some weight. So you know lots of people personally, professionally, through business association, through volunteer activities, through school. Those are some examples of your sphere of influence. And it's a really critical source of referrals and repeat business. So research suggests you can only maintain a social stable network of about 150 people, and that's a lot. And so that's where your CRM or even a spreadsheet of your contacts can help develop your sphere of influence. Nurture those relationships. You remember the spouse's name, remember the birthday, and periodically, touch base with them, keep in touch with them. And ultimately, you want to get more referrals or repeat business, but you don't want to ask for business every single time. So, you just want to maintain that sphere and be a warm and friendly contact with them, and also provide some value to them, because at the same time, you're in their sphere, right? So they might ask you, for input or a referral or whatever. And then when the time is appropriate, you might ask them for a referral as well. So don't overuse the privilege, but that's a really great source of business. I think this is the last one. I just wanted to touch on employees versus contractors. So there are a lot of benefits to using contractors over hiring employees, saving labor costs, reduce liability, flexibility in hiring and firing. I use contractors. I have worked actually, I'm also right now a W-2 employee for another company, but my business uses contractors. I've been on both sides. The caution is, if you miscategorize an independent contractor, then you could be really penalized legally and financially for that miscalculation. You have to pay back whatever you missed in taxes and other fees. So it's really important to determine who can be a contractor or not. And the general rule is an independent contractor controls basically how they do their work, and you control the result of that work. So not how it's done and when it will be done. I mean, you can have a target deadline, but the steps that they take to get there are up to the independent contractor. The contractor also uses their own tools and equipment. And usually they work outside your business location. They can come in for meetings, that's not a problem, but they're not usually housed in your business. It's also important to know that for some grants, people performing work must be an employee. I've run into that a lot of times. So just something to keep in mind if you're in a position where you're going for grants. And that is it. I'm gonna escape out of here so I can see you all. Did anybody have any questions? Was it something that of value to your businesses or?
Darla, thanks so much for your presentation. It was really helpful. I'm curious if you could talk about taxes for small businesses in Hawaii and just a little bit more about that, how to do GE taxes, etc.
Are you asking me or?
Yes.
Okay, Lantana, I thought, was there someone else speaking on that topic?
Yeah, so actually, Sophia, if you want to stay on once Darla's done, if you have any questions about her presentation, we're going to stay on and then we're going to talk about the general excise tax filing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, I'm sorry. Is someone other than me talking about GET filing?
We were just going to kind of have a little discussion afterwards for anybody that wants to stay on to just talk
Okay.
about like some of the specific challenges that people are having.
No worries.
Yeah, I had a question about the logo software that you had said.
Yeah, it's actually a resource. So it's a web resource. It's called Fiverr, Fiverr. And you can hire someone online and you can get bids. So the last time I used it, you can, they have different rankings of quality based on their customer feedback. And, there's people that are like 5 stars and they might be a little bit more expensive, but there's a really good mid-range with really good customer feedback, and they have a portfolio, and it's very, very affordable and very quick. So,
nice. So any type of like design help or maybe like the marketing thing you had said.
Yeah, I use them to create a MailChimp template, so a custom coded template for MailChimp for a newsletter. Okay. And that was 3 years ago, and I'm still using it. So it's really worked out well, and I think it cost me like $75.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, there's so much good information. Just to kind of have the overview too was really helpful. And thanks for reviewing the funnel of like how to kind of like communicate with people online.
Right. I think the thing about that too is just to be consistent. If you can only put out one blog post or one main communication a month, then that's okay, as long as you do it every month. If you're going to do a newsletter, I'd suggest starting out quarterly. People think that, when I used to produce television, they would come to me, I want to do a weekly show. And I'm like, well, okay, this is going to be your only job. And that's all you're going to do, because they don't realize how much time it takes to do that, or to put out a newsletter. It really is time consuming.
Thank you. Does anybody else have questions? Sophia?
I have one more question. I'm curious about subcontractors online and how to handle them, like in your taxes, or if you're gonna work with subcontractors like internationally.
Sure.
Things to think about.
Okay. Well, subcontractors, you know, I provide a 1099 to them, but I don't work with international subcontractors. So I also have to say, I told Montana this, I have an accountant. So it's been many, many years since I've actually, you know, been in the role to act. Gosh, I think it's like been 20 years since I've done any kind of payroll. Always, you know, as soon as I could move up to having a bookkeeper or an accountant, I think it's really valuable. But, you know, actually the company that I'm working for now is really small, and they do global business. And they had kind of asked me a very similar question. And what I recommended was, you know, to do your basic bookkeeping in-house, but for the difficult things, like payroll or tax filing or whatever, you can sub that out. So you're saving costs and you're keeping controls because you're still doing all your basic bookkeeping in-house. But the things that get more complex, because taxes and payroll are two areas where the rules change constantly. So it's hard to keep up with. And that's the primary reason why I just got out of that part of it altogether. I know that's not a complete answer, but I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Oh, we got no audio. If you go into your audio settings on the microphone icon, you can change your microphone. I think it's probably your earbud that's overriding it.
Can you hear me? No? Never mind.
Oh, do you want to put it in the chat?
You can hear me? I can't hear you now.
Oh no, put your earbud back in. Well, if you can hear me, you can put your question in the chat. All right. I feel so bad now. Now she can't hear anything. All right. Well, like I said, I'd be happy to give you a printout of what I went through. I know I went through it really quickly, if that would help. And if you want to email me if you have any more questions, feel free to do that.
Thank you so much, Darla.
No worries. Did you guys want me